VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker, and today it's training camp. Rookies are welcomed back to action. Veterans will show up on Tuesday, and you can go on Saturday if you so please. Vikings football is back. We get to the preseason here, 3 weeks from Saturday, 3 weeks from now, and everything is starting to get cooking. 50 days, if you're watching this on Sunday, we are, 49 days away from the regular season. So it's safe to say that we are back. So with training camp about to get in full swing, I want to go through what I consider 5 bold predictions that are designed to be, kind of out there. I don't know exactly if they'll be, bold beyond belief, but these are 5 predictions for Vikings training camp. I'm going to start at number 5 and work my way up to what I would consider the most important one. But that's what we got. So let's start at number 5. I believe that an unsung wide receiver like Deshaun Jones or Malik Knowles does the thing and gets fans buzzing. Vikings fans absolutely love to fall in love with wide receivers in general, and then especially wide receivers that, are little engines that could. And right now, the Vikings wide receiver room is begging for a WR3 or arguably WR4 to stand off the page. Why is that? Well, simple. During the free agency period and then the draft, the only notable addition at wide receiver was Trent Sherfield, a journeyman, not terribly old, but a journeyman wide receiver who has never been too robust for his production. And this was in a market where Tyler Boyd was available, DJ Chark, and probably about a dozen other veterans that we would consider on paper better than the current options at WR3. And then on top of that, the draft, the one that we completed about 3 weeks ago, that had all kinds of WR3 candidates. That was one of the things this draft had a lot of, is late round or mid-round, late round wide receivers that you could expect to show up and grab 600 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns, whatever your caliber of a WR3 is. But the moral of the story is the Vikings selected none of those guys besides Trent Sherfield. Even now, they haven't signed Hunter Renfrow or Michael Thomas or Julio Jones. And so they either really have fallen in love with Brandon Powell, who will probably win the WR3 job, or they believe that one of the, what do they have, about a dozen wide receivers, one of them will step up. And I think that, at least per the hype, that somebody like Deshaun Jones will get folks saying, oh, this is why they didn't really pursue a big-name WR3. They like the guys that they have. So that could be Thayer Thomas is another one, Malik Knowles, but I'll stick with Deshaun Jones as somebody who really gets folks thinking, oh, I like this guy. And we do that almost every year at training camp with a wide receiver, and I think we're going to have, this isn't going to be an exception. That's number 5. Number 4 is Will Reichert, the new kicker, steals your heart. It's been, since Blair Walsh from 2012 until, January 4th, 2016. That was the last time that the Vikings had a kicker that they found themselves, and the guy was good. Ever since his demise, which came up really quick that cold day in January 2016, we've hopped around with Dan Bailey's, Kai Forbath's, Greg Joseph's, and Daniel Carlson, whose career wasn't long at all. But the Vikings, at least on paper, got the best kicker from this draft. They were even criticized a little bit for taking a kicker in the draft because apparently for some that's taboo. But Will Reichert has the consistency at the college level at Alabama, the big game kicking. The accuracy is there, and then he's got a ginormous leg. You could see it or see the reports of it from minicamp in June. So because this position notoriously for 25 plus years has caused folks heartburn, I believe that Reichert will easily win the job over Parker Romo, and by the time we get to the end of August or week 1, you're going to be really excited about, hey, this kicker is ours. We don't have to worry. Well, we'll still worry no matter what, but we don't have to, think about, is Greg Joseph going to hit the regular field goals, which he had a problem with, or hit the extra points? I think Will Reichert will be the real deal, and he'll start to prove that at training camp. That is number 4. The kicker steals your heart in a good way. Number 3 is that maybe in about 2 weeks, when we are recording, let's say August 7th, maybe you can move up the timeline a little bit. By 2 weeks from now, it's going to be a no-brainer that Sam Darnold is the QB1 for the start of the 2024 season. Now, recently, whether it was Athlon Sports that said, hey, there's a rival scout to the Vikings that believes J.J. McCarthy has the it factor and he can start. Don't rule that out. Or Randy Moss, who said, in my day, we started rookies whether they liked it or not, except for Dante Culpepper, evidently. Moss forgot that one. So there's been a little recent momentum that says don't rule out McCarthy yet, and I would love. This guy wants McCarthy to start week one. If he looks competent, quasi competent training camp preseason, I would start McCarthy week one, and then however the chips fall, we'll take our lumps this season, get a sweet draft pick, and then McCarthy would have had a year of development under his arm there. But the decision's not up to me. My prediction, of course, is Sam Darnold at QB1. But I don't think it's going to take very long for the establishment opinion to be, okay. I actually kind of believe some of the takes that say, from Paul Allen, voice of the Vikings, said earlier this week, top of the week, he said that, J.J. McCarthy is probably going to battle for a QB2 job. He and Nick Mullins are going to try to avoid QB3. I think there's more credence to that than there is with the expectation that J.J. McCarthy is going to win the QB1 job. Now, again, I will reiterate 100 times between now and the regular season, I want McCarthy to start week one. I would do it in a heartbeat so long as he doesn't look like a total fool, in July and August here. But on the whole, I think that it's not going to take long for the fan base to say, okay, the quarterback's 21 years old. There is precedent for letting a guy watch and learn. Jordan Love was the QB3 in 2020, his rookie year in Green Bay. And for better or for worse, I think we're on a pathway to that. Number 2, the defensive hype is going to be through the roof. So when Mike Zimmer was the coach, the Vikings were a defense-first enterprise, unabashedly. No debates from anybody on that one. Then Kevin O'Connell was hired about 2.5 years ago, a former quarterback who came from the Rams and the Sean McVay coaching tree. And wouldn't you know it, the Vikings pass almost more than any other team in the NFL. So I think if you had to put them in a bucket that said offense first or defense first, because you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, up until this year, Kirk Cousins, Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, the Vikings' weapons are on the offensive side. And so reasonably with Kevin O'Connell calling the plays, you could say, all right, the Vikings are kind of an offense-first focused team. While they might have those horses on the depth chart right now, and thank God they do, by the time especially when we get to week 4, week 5. But even at training camp, I think that we're going to be surprised by how bodacious Brian Flores' defense looks. And I think that the hype will be there to suggest, all right, there won't be a late season collapse like the Vikings defense had starting at the Bengals game last year. And I don't know if the Vikings defense is getting a lot of attention on the national radar. I don't think so, probably because Danielle Hunter left. But every stop, especially in Miami, when Brian Flores takes over a position group or a defense or a whole team there in Miami, they improve each year. An EPA per play in 2019, Brian Flores' first year, his defense, expected points added, ranked 32nd in the NFL his first season. By the time the 2020 season ended, that had climbed to 7th best in the NFL, his defense for EPA per play. So I think we're going to see some sort of replica there where the defense, beyond the shadow of a doubt, improves, and you're going to see the seedlings of that at training camp. So whatever date you want to assign, I think we're going to think, holy shit, this defense looks really good, and last year was just the tip of the iceberg. All right, and then number 1, this is broadly speaking. The month of July has been unkind to the Vikings. First, it was Kyrie Jackson, his tragic passing in Maryland. That was, 2 weeks ago now. And then on a lesser note, but still weird, was Jordan Addison's arrest in California, which we're still awaiting details. So I've had folks in our Vikings territory mailbag email me and say, what happened? Like we had a real positive vibe going, and now everything feels bad or doesn't feel fun at all. That's kind of how the offseason goes if you're a Viking fan, especially on the Addison part, not necessarily on Kyrie Jackson's passing. But I think the point here is that it's not going to take long for total optimism to be rejuvenated. I think J.J. McCarthy will have a lot to do with that, although he probably won't start. I think he's going to look the part and give us a lot of enthusiasm for what's to come. But right now, Maybe it's subsided a little bit because J.J. McCarthy signed his contract and he's in the house. There was a little talk of a fake holdout or whatever might happen there. That's gone. But the first part of July was gross for the Vikings. Not fun at all. And it won't take long for us to get right back and really excited. Maybe not about 2024 because, sportsbooks claim they're going to win about 7 games. But the broad enthusiasm like we had in 2014 when Bridgewater was about to take over and Matt Castle was there, that same type of, all right, this is a springboard season, that type of feel. Once you see all of the new faces, there's about 40 new players on this roster compared to last year. There's going to be a real aura of excitement, and it's not going to take that long to find it. All right, those are my 5. An unsung wide receiver shows up almost out of nowhere, especially for casual fans who've never heard of the undrafted guys. The kicker, Will Reichert, immediately steals your heart, and there's no kicking battle whatsoever with Parker Romo. God bless his heart. By the time 2 weeks from now, Sam Darnold will be the QB1, and we won't even have to debate it. It'll just be unspoken. That's how it works. The defensive hype will be off the charts. And then finally, some of this real sad and then on Addison's, eye-rolling stuff, that will be vanquished, and it'll be a footnote, and everything will be restored to the optimism that a summer should have. All right, that's all I got for this training camp bold prediction show. Skol, baby.